So welcome to our review of Spider-Man 2 by Insomniac Games. We've got the gang back together once again to review this game. And I'll ask you guys, are you excited about this game? Let us know down below. This is a no spoilers review.
Right.
And Vic, I was getting a little nostalgic earlier on, thinking back to 2018 when Spider-Man got released. I was playing it. You were away at a convention.
Oh, that's right.
And you texted me and you're like, how is it? And I'm like, it's really good. And you're like losing your mind about it because I know you're such a big Spider-Man fan like myself growing up.
Yeah, everybody knows that I'm a huge Batman fan, and the Arkham games have always had a soft spot in my heart. They've been my favorite trilogy of all time. But I don't know if everybody knows Spider-Man's my number 2, and he is. He's an incredible character, and they've been able to represent him in video games so well in the past. And of course, Insomniac did that with Spider-Man and Miles Morales. And I think what's cool is that this is a team-up game, and we get to team up and review it, which is pretty rad.
It kind of works out that way. And I started to play the game, and I'm like, how are they going to handle Miles Morales and Peter Parker together in this game? And they've done a really great job. I'm telling you, in the first half an hour of this game, you're like, whoa!
Yeah.
You're like blown away. It's a real event. And the past Spider-Man games have been fantastic in my mind, because I'll say this much. Unlike you, Vic, I don't really like superhero games too much. But Spider-Man changed my thoughts on that big time. And then going into this,
Why is that? Why is that with Spider-Man? Because I have my own thoughts on that, but why is it?
He's your number 2. For me, he's my number 1.
Right.
And I grew up with Web of Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I met Todd McFarlane, got him some of my comics back then.
Yeah.
I loved it. I grew up with it. And I'm going to say, I think what it is, this game, unlike, I'd say like other superhero games get it, but this game really nails it for me with the humor and with the seriousness. And there's a lot of seriousness in this game that we got to talk about.
Well, that's the beautiful gift of the game. Like, the surprising stuff isn't really that it's incredibly fun to swing around as Peter Parker and Miles Morales, and you get into all kinds of just elaborate, beautiful combat. We've seen that before.
Yes, exactly.
But why Spider-Man, I think, really registers, I mean, first of all, because he does do that, just because the ability to traverse the systems and traverse the city of New York is so fun, that's what makes him one of the best, if not the best, video game characters.
Yeah, because it's
he's
so
just
fast.
so fun.
Yeah.
But what makes this game so valuable and so refreshing and so beautifully crafted is that it's made with heart and empathy and love. And, you know, I think that the character has resonated with people through generations because he's so believable as a person. Both iterations of Spider-Man.
And what I was saying earlier, they're honoring the source material so well, and you feel really at home with both of these Spider-Mans right away. And traversing the city, we got to talk about the city, because this is becoming the thing in any game now. You're talking, when you talk about graphics or anything, it's about the world now. Yes, you got Spider-Man, and we're going to get to all his controls in a little bit. But the Brooklyn, the New York City environments, this is a game that's almost twice the size of the originals. And it's a sight to behold, and graphic fidelity has been pumped up. Like, the first Spider-Man games were really good, but I thought, okay, what are they going to do? I started playing this game, I'm like, this is a visual tour de force.
Well, it is almost a little overwhelming when you first jump in, because they're hurling everything at you. Although I will say that I preferred the opening of Miles Morales with the rhino chase through the Christmas Mall. I preferred that a little more to what is on offer at the opening of this one. But it's not because this doesn't have the epic scale. It really does. I just preferred the stylistic choice, the thematic choice of Miles Morales. But what happens with the opening of this is so over the top and in your face, you cannot believe what you're seeing and playing through. You're busting through buildings, and you're seeing all kinds of individual elements on fire and falling apart. You're rescuing civilians.
Interacting with the environments,
It's massive, it's epic, and it does take your breath away. And that's just the opening. It escalates from there, and some of the boss fights that you get into, and some of the moments that you have that are all lore-driven and story-driven and impactful in their own way are just powerful. And watching the cut sequences and the way that they thread the story in this game is so profoundly moving. Like it's just...
It is moving. That's a really interesting thing. And we got a bunch of bad guys from the past. We're not going to say them. Yeah. No spoilers there.
Yeah.
But all of them are honored so well.
Right.
And they are, as I said earlier on, this is a very serious game. People die in this game.
Yes.
It's like, I was like playing it. I'm like, bit of humor. Then all of a sudden we cut to a character. Something bad happens. I'm like, wow, they're going this level, and I really appreciate them taking this source material to the serious level as well.
Yeah, me too. And it's not like the previous two games didn't do that as well, but it really is this crescendo. It really is the build-up, and it's connected to the stories of the previous two games in some wonderful ways. What's really amazing for me is how well each of these characters and each of their universes are handled individually, but how beautifully it all meshes together, and how there is this commonality of empathy across Peter and Miles and the people that they know and love and care about,
and the villains all
but
go to
also
the
the
city.
Villains. That's a great point, because there is this kind of redemption idea in this as well, and that's just so wonderful to see.
And I think that's what we didn't expect. We expected to go in for a really amazing action game.
Yeah.
We got that in the first 5 seconds, but then we got this beautiful, caring, thoughtful story that I did not expect. I was moved. I was laughing. I was feeling a little nervous for the characters, and I was just really enjoying their journey. And that's the thing, is that yes, you play as Miles Morales and Peter Parker, and you switch between them, and that really takes you through the entire game.
Hey man, glad you could make it.
It's just fun to switch between both of the characters.
Right.
Because to be honest with you, I know there's detractors of Peter Parker and of Miles Morales. I will say both of them together complement each other.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And there's echoes and there's elements that are familiar across the two, but yes, they have their own individual spirit. What's really cool about it too is that you have sections of the game where you have a choice. You can play as Miles for a while, and you can play as Peter. You can bounce back and forth to handle specific things, and then there are isolated missions, which we won't spoil, that are defined by the character that you have to play as each of these two characters. And then there are tons of other really, really cool surprises. Some of them you may guess based on artwork and some of the stuff that's revealed. Kraven has been revealed. He's an incredible villain.
He's one of my favorites in this entire game.
He is so powerful and menacing and expertly performed and illustrated. The one thing that I'm definitely going to say here, and I didn't know this, I'm on my second playthrough of the game right now, which should kind of tell you, based on how many games there are to play, like, this is what I want to stop and play more of.
Yeah.
And I'm on my second playthrough. The first playthrough I played in performance mode. There's no performance RT. It's performance or fidelity.
Yeah.
I played through
like most games these days.
Yeah, but then Insomniac added performance RT to the previous things, where it added a sort of a limited ray tracing. This time, ray tracing is baked in on either version, and so when you're in motion in performance mode and whipping through New York, it's stunning. When you've got cut sequences, when you're on the Spider-Man characters, it's stunning because you don't see the facial detail, but it does break down a little bit faces-wise when you're in performance mode in the cut sequences. It's just not as good, and the way that you know that is you go into fidelity mode, and it's unbelievable. The quality upgrade. It's the first time where I've said, oh, yeah, I guess a PS5 Pro kind of makes sense now, because you want the fidelity quality at the performance frame rates, and we're not there yet. But what you should do is play the cut sequences in fidelity mode. It has to restart at the checkpoint, but play through. It's almost like you're getting this unbelievable 20-hour Spider-Man animated story, and then you get the gameplay.
Yeah, and that's what we got to talk about. The motion capture.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That lends to that. I was sitting just watching the first opening bits of this game, and I'm like, this is unbelievable, the level that we've got to now.
Yes.
Like, characters are acting, and I'm like, where is the character and where's the performance? The
it's so subtle, it's so nuanced.
It's so perfect now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're really hitting that level. We're almost going to get to that point of photorealism where they just hire actors to play them.
Well, that's happening.
And that's actually what's happening.
But by the next generation of consoles,
we're finally at that point.
Like Spider-Man 3, whenever that comes out, it's crazy.
He's trying to web us!
Do you know what's so crazy? We could just talk about graphics all day, and
Yeah.
that would be an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But we also got to talk about the gameplay.
Yeah.
We have to bring this down a bit. We'd be here for another 20 minutes because Spider-Man and Miles Morales have so many moves, so many things that they can do in this game. They've added some brand new elements in here.
New abilities, new special moves.
The spider wings to go through the city.
The
I
web
want to
wings
say,
are awesome.
I love those the most because we've been swinging through the city for a while now.
Yeah.
And that never gets old.
Yeah.
But this adds another element and just shakes it up.
Yep.
And that's what this game does with the gameplay. Keeps shaking it up. More moves, more abilities, more things added on.
And even though it's video gamey and you're going through rings and you get these air sort of chutes that let you go faster and all that, and it feels like it's an apology for Superman 64 in a way. It also works with the themes of Spider-Man. Spider-Man has had those web wings underneath the character, and it does juice the gameplay, and it's also very useful. Also, this has been shown off by Insomniac, the fast travel once you unlock the different districts is the best fast travel you've ever seen. It's instantaneous. You're going to each of these different areas, and it bounces you exactly where you want to go on the city map. And the city map is enormous, but I think one thing that we have to underline too, because it really is presented as this big open world experience, there are also these curated, not
moments,
rail moments.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of flexibility for where you can go, but there are lots of these sequences, gameplay sequences, where it's very curated and very much like a traditional action adventure game, like a Last of Us type of experience, where you only have a certain area that you can maneuver in, but you can maneuver in it wonderfully, and there's lots of those. So it's not just this big open world playground. There's lots of great interior elements and these cool mini story missions that are all valuable and impactful.
Add to the entire story and add to everything. The city is a living, breathing city, and you feel a part of it through the storyline and all of that, and through the gameplay, and you're running around, jumping down like past Spider-Man games. Oh, there's a crime in progress. Let me sort this out. And it just feels so kinetic and so fantastic and so fluid. And that's the thing about this game, like past Spider-Man games. It is so fluid, so easy to get into. It doesn't matter what level you're on. And maybe you're a beginner coming in, but for an advanced player, my God, the move sets that you can do in this game, the combos,
and all the animations and all that stuff. And this is why I've been saying for a bunch of years, this Spider-Man franchise that Sony and Insomniac have been building is perhaps the most important game property out there because of its accessibility, because everybody is familiar with this character. The movies are billion-dollar, at-bats every time Sony makes one of these movies. Even the animated movies are massive cultural moments. And this honors all of that work, and it allows people to be Spider-Man, and whatever version of Spider-Man they want.
Vic, you nailed it, taking it to the simplest point. When I was 13 years old, I liked Spider-Man. I'm turning 50 years old, and I feel like a kid again playing Spider-Man.
Being Spider-Man.
This is a dream come true for older folks and younger folks and anybody out there who enjoys Spider-Man. That is for sure. For me, I'm going to say something crazy. This is nuts. This is my favorite game on the PS5 by far.
Mine too.
Absolutely love this game.
My favorite game of the year. I can't see it not being my game of the year. I can't. This is my favorite PlayStation game, I think, published by PlayStation. This is my favorite, period. This is my favorite Insomniac game. It's right now it's my favorite action adventure game out of everything that I played. And now this trilogy, even though Miles is kind of like a side game, it's not quite a numerical game. But this grouping of 3 superhero video games is my favorite trilogy right now.
Even beating Batman for you?
Beating Arkham. And it's because of its replayability. It's just so fun to play. I still play the other 2 all the time, and now I want to go back and play them all again because they're so, and not that the Arkham games aren't, but these are just joy. It's joy.
This feels like next generation. This feels like the reason why I bought a PlayStation 5.
Time.
I was it was for this reason. For playing this game, and I've enjoyed the PS5 in general, but this game
it makes you think, what is the PS5 Pro going to do, and what is a PS6 going to do? And honestly, Insomniac, because of this game, I've been saying this for a while too, the best move that Sony's ever made acquiring the studio. They're so dependable. I mean, they've already released Miles and Ratchet and Clank and Spider-Man 2 on the PS5, and they're, Wolverine is up on deck. So these guys are incredible.
Remember with Miles Morales and Spider-Man, we were saying, how can it get any better? And then we play this game and it gets better, and it's ridiculous. And we could go on for hours talking about all the nuances of so many things and all the devices you can use.
I'm
my
smelling
God.
a 10 from you.
I'm going to go a little bit smaller.
Okay.
The game is fantastic. A 9.5.
Yeah.
I think it's got a lot of replayability in it. It's not a massive game. It is for collecting every single thing.
Yeah, well,
but you're going through the storyline pretty quickly at the same time.
Yeah, it's not super long, but you know what? It's going to resonate, and you're going to want to play it again. You're going to want to get those higher difficulties, and you're going to want to get every single trophy. It's a 10 from me for sure.
Oh, wow. That's
I
first
think,
10 from you in a long time.
And I think the only thing about it is that it's not out of nowhere. You know, we are familiar with Spider-Man.
Well, I'm familiar with Spider-Man, and I'm like, oh, Spider-Man 2 is coming out. I'm going to review it with Vic.
Yeah.
I start playing the game. I'm like, oh my God, where did this game come from? This is absolutely unbelievable. And then we're here saying 9.5, and you're saying 10?
It's a 10.
Out of 10.
And I can't see how I'm going to enjoy anything else to finish this year more than this game.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So there you have it. Johnny and I are going to do our best to get together again more often, but enjoy Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Highest recommendation.